Hi, and welcome to A Pod with Two J's. I'm Jill.
And I'm Julie.
Hi, Julie. How are you?
Jill. I'm well.
Here we're recording our first episode finally.
It's been months or maybe years in the making.
I know. Everybody's been waiting and asking, and here we are. So tell everybody the story of how this came to be.
So I think it was 2020 when we were in our little bubble of lockdown during COVID, which we all remember being stuck in their houses.
Yes.
And we had a tiny bubble and we always stayed connected, right? And then we were sitting in my family room one day and we were having a glass of wine or two and we were talking about podcasts for some reason. And then we were talking about how we had so many great ideas. And then we were just jotting all this stuff down and we thought we would do our own podcast. And then we talked about it. It was a great idea, but then we just never executed it.
No. And then we proceeded to continually get together and have these long, drawn-out conversations and thought, should have been recording.
Right. And then in December, I said, okay, let's get going, right?
Yeah.
Let's get going. And then I reached out to a friend who does a podcast in Vancouver once a month. And he FaceTimed us and he went through a whole bunch of, I guess, technological questions that we had.
Pages of notes.
Pages
I
and
tried
pages
to sort through.
that we were trying to figure out if we could do it on the technical aspect of things, and we could. So once we decided that, here we are.
We were set to launch March 14th. It's now March 27th. So here we are. Better late than never. So the gist of our podcast is we're going to talk about current events. That could be interesting news stories. We're based out of the Hamilton, Toronto area. New restaurants, new places to go to, things we did on the weekend, sports. And then we're going to talk a lot about relationships and dating.
And families and blended families.
So that's the gist of our podcast. So I hope you'll join us every week.
Oh, and we're going to have guests too.
Yes, we are. So we are looking to have guests and we have a few names in the books to line up. But we got to sort out all the technicalities before we invite other people here.
Let's see if we can get this one off the ground first.
So here we go. Let's start with our current events and happenings in our life. And so, Julie, we had a very exciting weekend.
We did. We had an amazing weekend. I went to my first country concert.
You sure did. And it was Blake Shelton. So if nobody knows who Blake Shelton is, which I can't imagine that's possible, he's a host of The Voice, married to Gwen Stefani.
And he has been on The Voice since it started. This is his last year.
That's right.
Right? So, and Gwen Stefani made an appearance at the show.
She sure
radical.
It was awesome. He came out with his guitar. He did a little acoustic set and did You and Me by No Doubt. And then she came out and surprised everybody, which is kind of cool because it was the last stop of his tour. And he said he hadn't been on tour in 2 years, which makes sense because COVID and everything
and,
like that.
And The Voice too, which keeps him really busy. So now he'll be back for the lives.
Yeah. So he's a very funny guy. Has a great YouTube video, which you still have to watch, with Jimmy Fallon at a sushi restaurant where he drinks a bunch of sake, calls it white wine. Can I have another one of those white wines? So that's really funny. And rumor was, as everybody told us that night at the bar, so we went over to Buffalo to see him, that Jimmy Fallon was going to come out.
Yes,
we
were hoping.
Yeah.
He didn't.
Yeah, that didn't happen because they are good friends. But anyways, great. So you're a country music fan now.
No,
right?
we're planning our next concert.
Yeah, so I'm going to get her out to the Chicks sometime this summer. And Chris Stapleton is definitely on the hit list.
He's on the hit list for sure.
Well, so that's the event. Now, I found this obscure news story, not really that obscure, that I want to ask you about because I am terrible with names. Notoriously, you go up and you meet somebody, you shake their hand, they say their name. For me, it's in one ear and out the other.
Okay.
So there's a woman who has been calling her coworker by the wrong name for 2 years, and she's mortified.
Well, I guess so.
Now, 2 years seems a little excessive. I think I'd get it together after 2 years. But I can sympathize with the not remembering people's names. So if you're in a relationship and can you pick up the signals that your partner isn't introducing you because they can't remember the person's name?
Yes.
Okay.
I was married to that man.
Okay. And then, so you would just go.
I would say, hey, I'm Julie, and you are?
Yeah. Okay.
Jump right in.
Right?
Yes. He was terrible with names.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with that. I can probably remember most unless I'm thrown into a big room where I don't know anybody.
Right.
Or a new job and you're meeting 15 people every
Right.
day.
That's
Right. You might
very
be the
different.
odd person that connects with you, but
Yeah.
I think it depends on the connection and how you're introduced too. Right.
I always find it so awkward when somebody can remember my name and I have no clue who they are. And I'm like, how do you, and I know that Jill is not like an everyday name, so maybe that stuck out to them that they'd remember that. But I'm like, God, how do you know my name? I have no freaking clue who you are.
I wonder what part of your brain has that sort of
Memory,
that
right?
memory recall.
I have
for
no
people
memory
just to
in Jen. So
right.
I have a girlfriend who can remember itty bitty details from like grade 7, and I can't even remember what I cooked for last week. So some people just have it. Some
really
people
good
don't,
memory. It's
right?
true.
Yeah. But yes, more wanted to clue in on like, you can clearly tell like this person's not introducing me, so I better like figure out this person's name.
Jump right in and
Right?
say, "Hey, I'm Julie."
We all do it, right? We all do it.
We all do it for sure.
Okay, so you played a clip for me
Earlier
before our podcast started. So, just as a setup, we sat down and sort of wrote out the script of how we wanted our first, few episodes to go, because you got to plan. As much as we can sit here and gab it up, you got to plan
And
what
we
you want
can.
to talk
We
about.
can gab it up.
Right? We wanted to take Jay Shetty, who wrote a book called 8 Rules of Love, and we wanted to talk about each rule each week.
Right.
So rule number 1 this week sort of leads into the clip that you found.
Yes.
That you
I
can play for everybody right
and
now.
this is a clip from Matthew Hussey, which I'm sure you are all, or most of you are familiar with. So I'm going to play it. Here we go. Are you ready?
Right. How you feel about someone from how someone makes you feel. Those are very different things. I may feel about a person that they are charismatic and adorable and intelligent and wise and fun, but they make me feel. If they make me feel lonely and sad and anxious and stressed and questioning my value, that's the reality of my relationship. So you can think someone is a god, but if they make you feel like you're nothing, that's going to be your experience.
Wow. Big. That's big. That gives you a lot to think about, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And do we allow people to make us feel that way, or do we just feel that way?
Mm-hmm. So twofold, right? It's probably a little bit of both. Like it all goes back to how you give and receive love, how you accept love.
Your love language.
And everybody's own idea of loneliness.
Right. Well, and hanging on to a partnership or a relationship with because you know that person is amazing, but I can't imagine being in a relationship and going to bed every night and feeling alone.
I know.
Because that would be so sad and so heartbreaking to feel that you have this wonderful person in your life, but there's just something that's not quite there. And that takes us to the let yourself be alone.
Mm-hmm. So Jay Shetty's number 1 rule of love from his book, if anybody wants to.
It says we've been made to believe that if we're not with someone, that we're inadequate or unworthy in some way. Shetty told the audience, but being alone can actually be an incredible time to discover your personality, discover your values, and discover your goals.
Right. Now, I agree with this. I think there are many women, and this could be very controversial, and here we go on the whole, we're probably going to say controversial things and probably going to have controversial topics, but I would hazard to say that the majority, I have met more women in my life that are afraid to be alone than who are confident in their. And is it alone?
Independence.
Is it alone?
Yeah.
Independence.
Right.
Correct. Thank you for the word, because I didn't want to say alone. You're independent. You either feel like you're independent or you feel like you're alone. There's no fine line. If you feel like you're alone, then you're in the wrong relationship or you're not doing enough to satisfy your own needs. And taking care of yourself.
I agree. So I've been alone as in not married or separated for 4 years. And do I
Mhm.
feel lonely?
No. I was separated and pretty much alone so I've been separated since 2013. And I was alone for a good solid 8 years. That's not to say I didn't have people that I'd go out with.
Right.
And me and you have
It
talked
doesn't mean
you have talked about that little roster that
Right.
you have.
And it doesn't mean you don't miss companionship.
Right.
But I never ever went to bed at night thinking I was lonely. My life was fulfilled with my friends and my family and my kids.
Right. Right. And the things that you do for yourself to fulfill for
Right.
yourself.
And
what if you
self-reflection,
don't
right?
know? What if you don't know or like yourself and you don't
That's why people
want
don't want
to
to be
be
alone
alone?
because they have to look in the mirror and be present with themselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not easy.
Yeah.
Self-reflection is really difficult, whether you're a good human or not, right?
Yeah.
It is because we all have our things, our quirks and our nuances and our triggers, right?
Right.
So to be it by yourself, some people can't because they don't want to deal with that. They don't want to look in the mirror. They don't want to. It's not that they don't want to be better people. I wouldn't say it's that. They don't have the capacity or I don't even
To
know
do
if
it by
it's-
themselves,
Right.
to fill their own tank.
Right.
Right.
They need someone else to fill their
Correct.
tank, right?
Now, there's something that Jay also said in that about stigma. Is that the word he used? Stigma?
If we're not with someone that we're inadequate or unworthy in some way.
Correct. Because,
Right.
okay, so for me, that's the stigma of other people. So I don't know about you, and I do know about you because we've had this conversation, but once you're not a part of a couple anymore, you lose people in your life. I lost people in my life.
I have too.
I have literally been told that I was not invited places because I created an odd number. I found that my singledom made other people uncomfortable. And I think that sucks. And that
It does.
kind of makes you a really sucky person. Because when somebody's separating and going through a divorce, it's pretty much like one of the hardest things that you can do.
It's true.
Especially when you have little kids and now you're an island unto yourself. And the life that you once knew and maybe even wanted or maybe didn't want anymore, and that's okay to not want that life, means that you've lost a good core of your friends and your social life. So now when you don't have your kids every other weekend or you are on the weekends, you do have your kids and you got time to go out, you got nobody to go out with because you've lost half your friends.
It happened to me too.
And half your social life. And I'm going to say, put out there to people, if you have a friend who's getting separated or getting divorced, don't desert them.
No.
And don't make them feel
like a third person.
Right.
The fifth wheel.
Right. Don't ever do that.
No.
That's not what they need. And if you really love them as a friend, be there for them, support them and their kids, and invite them anywhere.
I agree. Because I've reflected on so many times where I think, you know what, we had such great friends, that whole having couples over and doing all that thing. And then all of a sudden there's nobody.
Mm-hmm.
All those couples are just still being couples. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. It's not, but I'm like, did I do something wrong?
Right. And that leads me to my other point. Like, don't be a person that's not going to go if you are invited.
Right.
We all know that nobody sits in the corner making out nonstop. Like couples, you can be in a room with couples, but nobody's all over each other, hanging out and making out. And
No, we're not
going to have any time for you. I think more than likely you're going to be with your girls talking and the guys are going to be with the guys talking or vice versa.
That's right. The way it was before, but just because you don't have that partner with you, it does not mean you should be excluded.
Right.
Or for them to feel threatened or uncomfortable. Maybe they're just uncomfortable because they don't want you to feel uncomfortable, but maybe have that discussion.
Yeah.
Right.
You got 2 feet to stand on.
Right.
1, 2
right.
feet for a reason. Stand on your 2 feet.
Right.
Put your big girl pants on and get out there. I can remember, it's funny because I can remember the very first New Year's that I was alone. I didn't want to go out to what I was invited to. My oldest sister invited me to go to this beautiful restaurant and have this lovely meal. And I was just not feeling it.
Yeah, of course.
I did not have my children. they were up north with their father, and I laid in bed the majority of the day. And then I said to myself, so put your big girl pants on and get out there and go.
Right.
And I did. And I had fun. Like, we had a gorgeous meal, which I documented because I document all my food because I like to look back and see all the wonderful meals I've had. I'm sorry if that bothers people, but I do. I am a big foodie and I like to, and to be honest, that still brings me great joy to this day because when that memory pops up, I remember exactly the way I felt before.
Right. And then
I remember exactly the way I felt during. I remember exactly the way that food made me feel. And I remember what we did after when we went back to their friends and we played games and we had a happy new year and it was wonderful.
it's huge progress all in a day.
All in a day. But I did have to say, I did have to give myself a little pep talk.
That's okay.
And I'm going to tell you that I was a solo person in a bunch of couples at New Year's, but I knew my sister was not going to go make out with somebody and this, and you say Happy New Year and you get on with your life, right? Like, but, yeah, so that's my story about that. And, I did spend a lot of time alone, but I really made a point to get out there. I don't think I ever stayed home crying of loneliness, but then I just put on Sex in the City because that's my
God,
that's my feeling good. If I really felt lonely when I was single, I just put on Sex in the City and it's like a warm blanket and a bottle of wine.
I've had this discussion with other women that are single, as I am, and online dating, which is that's a topic for another day. But asking me, are you lonely? Do you need somebody in your life? No.
And by the way,
I'd love to have somebody to have Friday night dinner with and catch up after a long week and do day trips and go away and have that companionship. But I don't need it.
No.
I want it.
And segueing into the Matthew Hussey clip that you played, just because you're in a relationship does not mean you're not lonely. And
that's a terrible way to live.
You can be in but it kind of goes hand in hand because it's like some people's worth is really based on being in a relationship.
It's true.
And some people feel like if I don't have somebody that loves me and I can't go to a dinner party and have somebody beside me, or
they feel inadequate.
I don't have that plus one. They feel less than. And you should never feel less than. So I'm going to appeal to all the women who might stumble upon this podcast who are going through a separation
or a
breakup or a divorce or have been alone for a long time and come from the generation that we come from, which is a different generation than the younger generation, whereby you just were supposed to stay married and stick it out and be miserable for the rest of your life because that's what you're supposed to do.
Parents.
And sacrifice yourself for your kids.
That's our parents.
Being alone is not bad.
It's not lonely.
You're not less than.
No.
You're not unworthy.
No.
You're not unlovable. You are strong. You are independent. And you go to work every day, whatever job you might do, and you support your kids. And you support your family and your financial freedom of your future. And you don't need any man to take care of you. That makes you way stronger than anybody.
I think that's a desirable
who's lonely in a relationship.
Yeah. I would think that I would love to have someone in my life and give them, my attention and my time, but it has to
have other things going on.
I do, and I'm not desperate, and I don't go to bed every night lonely. I'm not. My life is fulfilled in other ways.
Yeah.
Right. It is, and that's I think I'm in a good place for that because if I'm going to give someone my time and my attention, it has to be the right guy.
Correct. That's the other thing that I wanted to segue into is like, okay, when I first separated and when you first separated, our kids were smaller and they were involved in a lot of rep sports.
Right, so we're busy.
And when your kids are in rep sports, multiple rep sports, you're on the go every weekend. You don't have time to date and you're so exhausted from being at the ball field or the hockey rink. Right. By the time it rolls around and somebody wants to have dinner for you, well, it damn well better be worth it.
Right.
And it damn well better be good. Because if I have to come home after being exhausted and running around and get myself dolled up to go out with you, it better be dolled up. I can't believe I just said that word, dolled up.
It better be.
It better be worth it.
Yeah, you can't just
And
do it to feel good
stimulating.
and not just mentally.
Right.
Mentally, I
Yeah.
want somebody who can engage in a conversation
Yeah.
that's interesting to listen to,
Yeah.
that has their own life,
Yeah.
that they're satisfied with their life, and I'm an add-on.
Yeah.
I want an add-on in my life.
You're correct.
Somebody that I add on to their happiness and they add on to mine. They don't
Yeah.
make me completely whole and happy just because it's them.
I mean, we've got 2 days a week to date people because you're working 5 days a week. Kids are in school.
Cool.
Your kids are in sports. Kids are in sports on
Right.
Saturday and Sunday. You got 2 days a week to give to somebody. So it better
It has
It
to
better be
be
worth it.
It has to
because
be.
on a Friday night I'm tired.
you got to knock that
I've had a big
ball out of the park
Yeah.
for me.
It's got to be good. And men who come in and try to be lazy about that because they don't have their kids full time,
Right.
uh,
Or don't have any kids at all, which
or
is
don't
fine.
have
That's
any
fine.
kids at all,
And that's fine too. But
and they don't feel the pressure that mothers feel with raising children. It better be worth it, and you better make an effort, man. Like, I'm sorry, when you're dating men, I'm 1950s. You better make an effort.
me too. I want you to say, "Hey, I've made reservations at
Yeah.
my favorite Greek restaurant. Let's meet on Saturday night
Yeah.
at 8:00." I don't want you to call me and say, "What do you want to do?" I have no idea what we should do. No.
Oh my God,
Take
no.
the initiative.
I say all the time, I say, I don't like, if you're not like telling me you're not a planner, okay, that's fine. But you know what you say to me? Jill, I want you to get all dolled up.
Right. I'm
I'm
gonna
picking
pick
you up at 6.
and we're going.
I
out.
want to take you wherever you want to go. You book it. And I'll book the most fabulous restaurant ever. I am totally cool to book the restaurant. As long as you want to take me out and doll me up, I'm there. I keep saying doll me
I
up.
know.
I don't know where, but it's true. Like, I don't claim, you don't have to make the reservation, but you damn well better make the plan. There's a big difference.
Well, there's being creative and thinking about.
Um,
And we talked about the first rule, and we would like to know your feedback too. That would
Yeah,
be nice to
so
know. What do you
first
think about being
rule-
alone?
about being alone. I mean,
Should never feel inadequate.
it's a
about
hard
being-
topic, and being with yourself is not easy. I see a lot of people on Instagram and TikTok. I'm a big social media person. I'm not going to lie. We're in 2023. I follow a lot of social media. I see all the stigmas of mental illness
Right.
and the things that are going on with people right now after
Especially
COVID.
post-COVID, it's terrible.
There's a lot of it in my personal life that I deal with. And like, you should never be scared to be alone. And it's scary to me that people are scared to
I
be
know.
alone.
It's true.
And you should feel powerful in your ability to be alone.
Right, because anyone that comes into your life adds to your life.
Yeah.
They don't take
Everybody
away.
should. It's like a Christmas tree. You put
Right.
up the Christmas tree. It's like put up the
Right.
Christmas tree and you add all the decoration.
Right. The Christmas
But
tree is still beautiful,
It is.
even without a
It is.
decoration.
Even with just the little bit of lights
Right.
it has.
It's gorgeous.
Which can just be your eyeshadow and your
Right. Whatever you want.
Which I don't put on every day either. I mean, I'm a person who's lived in sweatpants for 2 years
It's true.
because I work from home.
I go to the office now,
You're lucky. I'm telling you, there's something to be said for that.
and we're in the heels. You're not.
Mm-hmm.
As we found out after the.
Oh my God. I went to the concert. I wore high heels. My legs are still paid for it. I feel like I've done 55,000 crunches. Is that what I said?
Squats.
Squats. Sorry. See, I don't work out. Squats. Still today, I'm walking funny. God. And not for the right reasons. Anyway, moving on. To end this podcast on that spicy note, we were always going to do dirty little secrets.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
So here are some of the dirty little secrets I read about on the weekend.
We're going to have a little link that we're going to set up, and you guys can send us
Yes.
your dirty little secrets, which we cannot wait to
Yes,
share.
and they're going to be completely anonymous.
Of course.
There's no way to trace it,
Mhm.
just so you know. So, dirty little secret number 1. My family just found out my grandma was literally cheating on her husband with another married man in the nursing home. We don't know whether to be mad or laugh. She's 83. Get it, Grandma?
Get it?
Right?
83.
83. My mom worked at a nursing home for 20 plus years. She said the residents cheat all the time on their spouses. She has walked in on it more than once.
I'm sure they do.
So this is a getting down and dirty nursing
Right.
home.
Well,
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them, not to, I mean, that's fine. But I think there's dementia issues, there's memory issues, right? I think
They don't remember what we did.
I think you become like you were as a teenager as you age. Some people do. They revert back to that flirtations,
Right.
sort of like
Yeah.
multiple partners in the nursing home. I can't imagine working in there, seeing people go from room to room every night.
Famous. Here's another one. I used to work in a long-term care for 7 years as a personal support worker. You wouldn't even imagine what some of these elders can do. Sometimes I felt like I needed more experience.
Oh,
Those oldies be wild. Seriously, though, I've seen it all.
wow.
Read the cheating seniors. Seniors have the highest STD rates.
Are you kidding me? I guess they don't care at that
They
point.
just be getting it on over there in those nursing homes.
I guess they
So
don't
if you ever
care.
wanted to volunteer for a little spicy and not to feel alone, maybe you hit up one of those long-term care homes where I'm sure
See
they
where-
could use the help.
all the action
And
going from
see
room
where
to
all the
room.
action.
That's amazing.
Anyways, and then on a light note, thank you so much for listening. We're so happy. Again, we're 2 Pods with a J, and we will be putting out 2 episodes a week.
yes.
Oh, sorry, Julie. I'm going to throw this at you because
Okay.
this was a little thing I thought of today.
Oh.
That I wanted to end our podcast with a quote of the day. And so I'm going to do it today.
Okay, I'll do next one then.
And-
How about we rotate?
And then you do the next one. And my quote today is, life is like a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Albert Einstein.
Nice. I like that.
Okay. So let's keep moving on
Let's
to the
keep
next
moving on.
episode. How
And
about that?
we'll see you guys next
Yeah.
time.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.